I mean, developing that confidence just comes from part of it is just being tired. Part of it is like just realizing you don't have to put up with this, and also understanding that, like, I'm a big fan of that phrase, the customer is always right, but with a caveat: not everyone's a customer. Not everyone who walks in a door of a restaurant is a customer. A customer is someone who will come back time and time again. The type of people who will be like, I'm taking my business elsewhere, and be like, great, well, this is Target and you were buying a pen, so goodbye. Like, it's not going to affect anyone.
You're buying a pen in the gay section of Target.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah. I got a really nasty email when I was running digital shows over the pandemic. We did a fundraiser for the Wisconsin Dems that actually helped flip Wisconsin. And we got a really nasty email when we announced it from someone be like, I'm never buying another ticket to one of your shows. And I looked at her account and I wrote back to her and I said, of the 23,000 or whatever tickets we had sold, you've purchased exactly one, and that was 4 months ago. So have a good one. We're still going to be who we are. And I think you need to take that approach to business, because servicing someone who is a terrible customer is a disservice to those who are good.
Yes, great point. Here's another thing that I've kind of noticed is in a lot of your sets, but also, like, I've seen Jesselnick live. Like, I've seen people heckle him, and like he handles it totally fine. I agree with you that the customer is not always right. I also feel like there's a social contract that needs to be binded and needs to be agreed upon for both parties to have that sort of acceptance of, like, yeah, the customer can always be right, but you're also not upholding your end of the bargain per se.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So to go to the heckle thing, has a heckler ever, like, gotten to you enough that it damn near threw you off your game? Or was it one of those things where it's like iron sharpens iron and it helped you become better at your profession?
Well, not gotten to me to throw me off my game as much as every now and then I'll get genuinely angry. And I try to avoid that because it's so much funnier if they're mad and I'm not.
Right.
Like, the best heckler videos I have are the ones where someone takes a swing and I step aside and let them fall. I mean, that's a much more effective way of fighting. So I did early on, I had one where this guy had been harassing me, like, this is early days of Facebook. This guy had been harassing me over and over again. And most people didn't understand social media at that point. And they didn't understand that, oh, you might know people without knowing them. And he showed up to a show, sat right in the front row. I knew who he was immediately because, I hadn't gotten a ton of people like that yet. And during the show, he starts loudly, sarcastically laughing. So, which is, I mean, pretty good way to heckle. Just
for sure.
Ha ha, ha ha. So people around him probably just think he's weird.
Right.
And they don't know the backstory. They don't know that this guy has sent me over 100 nasty messages. And so when I snap on him and I try to explain the context of it, I just look insane. And I bombed that show. Like, that was bad. And that's when I learned that, like, if the audience you got to give them enough rope to hang themselves. The audience has to hate them more than you do. Because once the audience hates them more than you do, you can say whatever you want. You can get away with anything because however mean you are being, you're being nicer than the audience would have been. And so, I had to learn that lesson early. But, since then, it's the only problem really comes when they say something that really bothers me as a human. Like, I'm not insulted. I'm not, like, they can hurl any kind of insult they want at me. It's when they get very homophobic, very transphobic, very racist, very misogynistic. Like, that's when it's hard for me to control my actual emotion, because I'm not mad at them as a heckler. I'm mad at them as a person.
Right. I remember there was one video that you put out where I could tell, and like, I've seen a ton of your stuff, right? I could tell that you were measurably angry, like comfortably angry. And I think it was a transphobic heckler who was seated towards the back of if
This
there's
is the guy that got arrested in
Vancouver? Yeah. That's the guy that got arrested. So I could tell at that point that you were measurably angered, but simultaneously, and this is something that I love about comedians, it's that you use someone's own logic against them. If you really break it down, it's simplicity here. It doesn't have to be a super complex formula of a trans person using a bathroom, of who they identify as a person and who they are, because it's all in the name of inclusivity, which is something that I love about your sets. But when you are taking on someone like that, do you have a mantra in your head? Are you woo-sighing through it? Is there something that you're saying to yourself to be continually cool, calm, and collected, but also using someone's logic against them?
Well, being the youngest of four certainly helps, but
yes.
I think there's two separate things there. One is using someone's logic against them is pretty easy in a situation like that because they don't have a viewpoint. They have a talking point. You come to a viewpoint with analysis and research and, introspection. And these are not people who do things like that, because if you had the ability to do those things, you would not yell out in public at a theater.
Right.
But not to mention not have those abhorrent viewpoints. But so all I have to do is probe a little bit deeper, and they haven't thought that through. They haven't gotten to that part because all they're doing is going, different is scary. So, you use their logic against them. Really, what I try to do is I try to keep in mind, I'm not the only one here. It's Gladiator. You win the crowd, you win the day. And so I am playing to the crowd that is there. I'm playing to the camera for the clip so that it can reach people afterward. I have to remember there's staff, there's other comedians, you just have to be present and understand that this is not a one-on-one conversation. This is, the judges of this fight are all around you. And so, to win the fight, you have to score a couple points. And so that's all part of it. It's, it's a sport in that sense.
Well put.